Well, here we are. It's Sunday, the end of January, and we're still dealing with the same junk. It's real interesting. They're willing to call these patriotic, constitutional people, patriots, militants and extremists and terrorists, and yet they won't say that about ISIS or Hezbollah or any of these other groups. They won't call them terrorists. And I don't get this. I just don't understand how we have gotten so far removed from people who are willing to stand up and fight for what is right. They would just as soon defend evil and wickedness and what's wrong than they would to stand up for what is right. My brain has a horrible time of comprehending this. And who in their right mind, and maybe that's the answer to my question, because who in their right mind would stand up and be for wickedness and evil and corruption? Well, it's only people that are wicked and evil and corruption that would do it. And so that kind of answers that question and just proves what these people are. And even these so-called law enforcement people are just as complicit. And they ought to be tried. They ought to be tried for their crimes. They are not above the law. They think they are. They think they're all that in a bag of chips, but they're not above the law. And we have seen instance after instance of abuse and just corruption and all kinds of stuff, and yet there's little pockets here and there of people complaining and protesting and doing that, but it's not enough. It's not enough to really make the government fear the people, which is the way it's supposed to be. The government should be afraid of us. We shouldn't be afraid of the government. And that's how, and we've got a generation, these, I guess they're called millennials, who are so brainwashed. And the more I realize this, the more I realize how Hitler was able to do what he did in Nazi Germany. Because it is the same thing. It's the same thing. We are headed in the same direction as Nazi Germany. And I mean, my gosh, all you have to do is study history. You've got children and young people who just absolutely love the government, trust the government, believe the government. And if you're a constitutionalist, if you love freedom, then you're the bad guy. Well, I don't understand how these people could have that mindset. Well, I guess when it comes down to their freedoms being infringed on, maybe some of them will change. But I don't know. They've got such a fear of the government at this point that they're going to do whatever the government tells them to do. The government tells them to jump, they'll ask how high. Guys, I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. Where I keep going back to Baltimore and Ferguson, and how thousands of people showed up in protest and shut the government down, and over what was, and they did what was wrong. It wasn't even the right way to do. And here we got guys that's doing everything right, and one gets murdered, the others get arrested, and they're called terrorists. Why didn't they call the people in Ferguson terrorists? They terrorized. Why didn't they call the people in Baltimore terrorists? They burnt down a CVS or a Walgreens or whatever. They terrorized people. And yet these people up in Burns, Oregon did absolutely nothing to endanger anyone. They didn't threaten anyone. They were simply up there gathering information and doing a peaceful protest on public property, by the way, so they can't be charged with trespassing on public property. I mean, come on. And why can't we muster thousands of people? Come on, man. There are people out there. What about the ranchers and the farmers out there? There's plenty of potato farms out there as well in Oregon that the BLM could just take in a minute. Plenty. I mean, why aren't these people standing up together and getting thousands together? Could you imagine thousands of people in that? And I've been to Burns, and in that tiny little town, they could actually literally overthrow the town. Seriously. And when I say that, I mean overthrowing the government in the town. And that goes along the lines of the second paragraph of the Declaration of Independence, that when a government usurps its authority, it is the right and the duty of the people to abolish that government and institute a new one. In other words, guys, we start from scratch. We get new people in there. Said it time and again. The documents are fine. It's the people, and it's not the system. It's that the system has been corrupted by corporations and money. It's all about money, ladies and gentlemen. And when you've got a few corporations who force these judges and sheriffs and lawyers on both sides. Listen, when you've got a defense attorney that knows that you've not done anything wrong, and he tries to get you to take a plea deal, we'll plead this down from 25 years to 2 years. That's so they can put money in the corporation's pocket while you do that 2-year stint. That's not helping a person. How is that helping? If you're innocent, man, and these juries, that's a joke. It's supposed to be a jury of your peers, and it should be a common law jury, common law grand jury. Common law. I don't know. I'm glad that this life is just temporary. I really am. And I understand. I think I have somewhat of an understanding, because I can only imagine the stuff that the Apostle Paul was seeing at the end of his life. Christians being persecuted, put to death and everything. He was in the deepest part of the dungeon down there, and in his last letter that he wrote to Timothy, he said, I'm done. I've finished the course. I've kept the faith, and I am ready to be offered up. He was just done. and of course Paul's fight was to preach the gospel. He, we don't know what else he did, because not everything is written that he did. We don't know every day of every second what Paul did. We do know that he was, by all the accounts that we read about the Apostle Paul, that he was a mild man, meek and gentle. And that's fine. But there were warriors back in those days. And the Christians did eventually start to fight back at a point. After enough was enough. I'll never forget Jesus telling the apostles to sell your coat and buy a sword. And there was a reason for that. So I'm going to end this on hopefully a high note. I guess there are patriots that are still heading into Burns. And here, let me say this. We need thousands, not hundreds, thousands and thousands of patriots to stand up. Anything fewer than that, we are going to be labeled as terrorists and everything else, if it's just a few. They had the right idea with what they went up there to do in Oregon, and they should have never sent the 3%ers away from Idaho. That was a huge mistake. That was a huge mistake, sending them away. And I'm not trying to diss on anybody. I'm just looking at it in hindsight. They had the juice, they had the momentum, and they failed to complete their mission, and that's actually made the people here less safe. We are under greater danger today because Obama's army won this, and that's extremely tragic. Extremely tragic. And it makes us extremely less safe. All right, guys, have a good night, man. Be careful.